I'm Robyn Rowen, your Big I Minnesota lobbyist, and today I'm here with Big I Board and Legislative Committee member Jean Sundblad. And we are going to dish and discuss all of the details on the Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce engagement. Surprise! Yes! You can't escape! Actually, and far more relevant to our industry, if only slightly less exciting, Jean is joining us today as the Big I's appointment to the Legislative Task Force on Homeowners and Commercial Property Insurance that was created last legislative session. The task force will have its first meeting on September 10th. To refresh your recollection, the task force was created in response to concerns legislators had been hearing about the cost of insurance in the commercial and homeowners markets. Throughout the legislative process, the Big I Minnesota worked with our insurance industry partners to ensure the makeup of the task force includes the insurance expertise necessary to have an informed and constructive discussion about the state of the marketplace and to craft solutions. And we succeeded. There are 4 industry appointees on the task force, and the Big I is the only group that represents agents on the task force. So welcome, Jean, and thank you for agreeing to represent the Big I on the task force. Jean is the Director of Captives, Coverage, and Risk Consulting with Kraus Anderson Insurance, and she has more initials after her name than we even have time to read on this video. Jean, can you share some of your background and experience that makes you such a great choice to represent us on the task force?
Sure, Robyn. Thanks for taking time out of your busy day to chat with me today. I appreciate it. I'm honored to be representing our member agents on this task force. As many of you know, I've been in the insurance business for 45 years. I hate to say that number. Almost all of those have been on the independent agent side. I had a short stint on the company side. I focus primarily on commercial lines, but I did spend a bit of time in personal lines as well. I know many of you from insurance classes that I teach, both through the Risk and Insurance Alliance and through the Big I Minnesota. I teach CIC, CISR, and E&O. That's my passion. I've been pursuing that for about 40 years. Finally, I'm on the board of my HOA, and I consult with an HOA collaborative group in Eden Prairie on insurance issues.
And that is why we are so excited to have you representing us on the task force. So next, let's discuss our goals for the task force. From my somewhat jaded lobbyist experience, the first rule of managing a task force is making sure it does no harm. But in this case, I feel like because we laid out the duties of the task force in such a way to try and focus it in a constructive manner, that there's real potential to do some good. So Jean, what are your thoughts about our goals for the task force?
Well, Robyn, first, as you mentioned, we want to steer this task force away from any recommendations that might provide short-term relief for homeowners and property owners, but in the end would result in further market contraction and higher premiums. I'm hopeful that this group will stay focused on the best interests of our Minnesota consumers and businesses, and that's my goal as a member.
That makes perfect sense, and I think that is 100% where we want the task force to go. And I think it's worth noting that the initial proposal that came from the community developers would have required the Department of Commerce to collect and make public insurer cancellation and rating information, a proposition that would likely lead to mischief and a direction that's exactly kind of the short-term band-aids that we don't want to come out of this. Do you have further thoughts on the goals?
Right, and that's why the Big I insisted that this task force focus on and hopefully address the cost drivers that are contributing to our premium increases. Cost drivers are going to be something we continue to emphasize over and over in our efforts with this task force. I'd like to briefly comment on a few of those task drivers that you've asked the task force to address. Of course, the elephant in the room is climate. My friend Bill Butler said it best, we live in a hail-rich environment here. So we need to look at researching, testing, and promoting resilient materials. So that will be a focus. Storm chasers, I'm proud of our progress, but there's still always more to do. Litigation risks, such as third-party litigation funding and nuclear verdicts, is certainly a concern on the casualty side. And then planned obsolescence, one of Robyn's favorite terms, replacing undamaged materials because they've been prematurely discontinued hurts our consumers, businesses, and the environment.
Great, thank you. And good luck in keeping them focused on those issues. If anyone can do it, you can. But now let's touch on the other members of the task force. There are 13 total members, and those 13 members can be divided into 3 buckets. We have public policymakers, property owners and housing advocates, and then, of course, insurance industry experts.
Yes, on the insurance side, in addition to the Big I, the Insurance Federation has 2 appointees, and then the farm mutuals also have a spot on the task force.
And we all work really well together, and I'm sure that we will coordinate throughout the process to make sure we're speaking with one educated voice. And what about the property owners and housing advocates?
Well, they're representatives from the Multi-Housing Association. Interestingly, they appointed an American Family agent to represent them. There will also be representatives from the Housing Justice Center, the Community Association Institute that represents the HOAs, as well as the Consortium of Community Developers. There's also a representative from the Contractors Association of Minnesota. And as you know, that's an organization which in the past has opposed our efforts to curtail the storm chasers. There's a representative from Ceres, a nonprofit organization focused on climate change, sustainability, and insurance. Our 4 industry members will have our work cut out for us, keeping the rest of the task force focused on real solutions and not Band-Aids.
Absolutely. And there will also be members of the legislature serving on the task force as well. DFL Representative Steve Elkins will serve on behalf of the House. Representative Elkins is from Bloomington. He's a vice chair of the House, co-vice chair of the House Commerce Committee. And he always takes a very thoughtful and collaborative approach to all of the issues that he works on. So I think he will absolutely be a resource and a leader on this task force. The Senate members have not been officially posted yet, but my understanding is what I've been told is that there may actually be 2, sort of a job sharing situation. And that's largely because the legislation requires the majority and the minority to agree on one person. And as you've seen from the legislative session, that can take months. So there might be 2 senators serving on the task force. DFL Senator Judy Seeberger, who is vice chair of the Commerce Committee, and GOP Senator Gary Dames, who's the current Republican lead on the Senate Commerce Committee, and he's chaired the Commerce Committee in the past for years. And those 2 are 2 of the best, if not the best, insurance brains in the Senate. So we'll be very excited to have them on as well, and I feel like they can help steer the task force in a constructive direction.
Absolutely. And last but not least, the Department of Commerce will be represented by Peter Brickwitty. He is the Senior Director of Insurance Sustainability and Climate Change, and Peter has over a decade of experience at the DOC, and the Big I has a great relationship with him, including quarterly discussions on the state of the property and casualty market from the independent agent's perspective.
Great. So what's next? As I mentioned earlier, the first meeting is on September 10th. And the task force has to complete and submit a report by February 15th, which is 2 days before the start of the 2026 legislative session. And the report is expected to include recommendations for legislative changes. And I think that's where the challenges will lie. Again, our goal is that any recommendations that make it into the final report will take aim at the actual factors that contribute to higher premiums and will not do further harm to the market in the place of providing short-term relief. We will continue to provide you with updates as the task force begins its work. If you want to be more involved, consider joining the Big Eyes Legislative Committee, which will be supporting Jean throughout the journey. The committee will be discussing all the issues in front of the task force, as well as potential legislation to promote a healthy P&C marketplace in Minnesota. So thank you again, Jean, and thank you all for watching, and see you next time.